Get ready.
They say they need to ban the podcast equipment and take y'all mics away. And oftentimes when I listen, shit, I agree.
For real talk.
Hey man, just because we know people don't mean that they know things. A lot of us was in the same classes with some of these folks. That don't mean they were passing these classes.
All the time.
It ain't the world leaving you behind, man. It's your line of thinking. You think the science stopped evolving because you stopped learning, and it don't work that way. I couldn't imagine voting for somebody who thinks identifying with me is identifying with a felon. That's crazy as hell. I'm Mr. Spann, and I'm approving these messages. This is the Mr. Spann Official Podcast. Let's go. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Mr. Spann Official Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Spann. This is episode number 56 of the show. And yeah, man, it's been a few days since the last time I talked to you guys, man. You know, there's been a lot of stuff going on politically and whatnot. We're going to talk about a lot of that stuff going on tonight. But of course, before we do any of that, I got to remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and let your voice be heard. Go ahead and hit us up at our hotline at area code 313-288-0485. There's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages. Of course, those messages will get played here live on the show and responded to here live on the show, right? Also, if you're watching us live here on YouTube and or Facebook, you can go ahead and chop it up with your man Spann here while we do the show, right? So there's area code 313-288-0485, right? Also, hit us up at our email at feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Go ahead and leave us those emails, and of course, those emails will get read here and replied to here live as well. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Also, follow me on Threads and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So follow me there. Chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. Threads is where I'm really at most of the time. So go ahead and follow your man there. And we can chop it up all on a day-to-day and whatnot, right? Also, on YouTube, man, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like, really, subscribe to the YouTube channel. For real. Go ahead, subscribe to the YouTube channel, man. Like and comment on the videos on the YouTube channel, man. We really appreciate everybody who does that. It really does help us in a very big way, man. Help the channel grow. And also, it helps other people figure out that we got some things going on over here at the Spann Report Podcast Network and the Mr. Spann Official Podcast, man. So that's one way to kind of put on for the show. And also, man, on iTunes and or Spotify, leave us a 5-star review on both of those platforms. We really do appreciate everybody who does that. Doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know while you're rocking with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety. But also, if you want to put down monetarily for the show, if you want to do that, you can hit us up at our TeePublic store, man. Go ahead and buy yourself some merch. Go ahead and get yourself a t-shirt, get yourself a coffee mug, get yourself a mouse pad, get yourself we got stickers and everything over there at the store, man. So if you want to put down for the show and you want to give us some money for the show, man, we appreciate those of you who will contribute in that way. And also, when you do grab that merch, man, when you do receive your merch, take some picture in that merch and let everybody know how you got this from us, right? Because we got some fly shit over there, man. Real talk. I got some myself. I wear it every now and again, but I'm just saying, if you want to put down for the show in that way, we really appreciate everybody who does that, man. Real talk. But yo, man, it's been a couple days since the last time I talked to y'all, man, and it's been a busy week, for your man Spann, man. Like, I know I was talking about how the overtime was was being cut down at my gig or whatnot, man. But I'll be goddamn if I didn't leave work like Friday night until midnight, dude. Like, I did a whole ass double, you know what I'm saying? Like a whole ass double shift, man. It was 16 hours, man. And it was like, it was an emergency gas situation. And we got to make the people safe. We got to make the property safe, but people first and whatnot. All I know is I was a little upset though. I ain't gonna lie. I'm like, come on, man. We get a gas emergency right before my fucking shift is getting ready to go. I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to go wash my ass, man. I'm ready to go put my feet up. And nah, bro, couldn't do none of that shit. Couldn't do none of that. But at the end of the day, though, it is satisfying to know that you make people safe, and the whole situation had been mitigated and everything else. The one thing I did think was the one thing I did think was odd though was somebody called the police on your boy, man. Somebody. there was a story about some guys impersonating gas workers in the Detroit area, and these dudes fucking murdered somebody while acting as though they were utility workers. And so now it has people like real iffy on letting people in their house and letting utility workers in particular into their house. And I get it and everything else, but it was weird in the sense that, like, here you are just out here trying to perform your work, and people are calling the police because they're not sure if you on the up and up. Like, and the other part about that I think is interesting is that, these motherfuckers didn't even ask for ID or anything, bro. Like, I could have showed them my badge and stuff like that, because I wear my badge and stuff at work, but they didn't even bother to do that. They just straight up called the fucking cops, man. It was crazy. Like, yo, man, I'm trying to make you safe. Right? Like, here I am trying to make you safe, but you're thinking that I might be out here like on some bullshit, despite the fact that I'm out here in full fucking uniform, despite the fact that I got a whole ass truck out here and with lights in the whole nine. And yeah, they calling the cops on people, but it is what it is, man. I guess folks can never really be too safe. You know what I'm saying? But we got that going on, man. But I got a couple random thoughts, man. I got a couple random thoughts on my mind before we really get into the show. And my first random thought has to be, and I say this as an old head podcaster, I say this as a person who still listens to podcasts, right? Spotify. I'm calling out Spotify. Listen, like, I want people to get their bread. I really do. I want the folks who are out here podcasting and they're using the podcast to get their money. I want folks to get their bread. However, Spotify, I'm calling y'all out. Y'all got to chill the fuck out with these goddamn commercials, bruh. Like, I'm listening to my favorite shows, and before I can actually listen to my show, I've got to listen to at least 3 minutes of fucking ads before my show even starts. And to me, that's
the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. There's no wonder you get D's and everything.
And what's fucked up about it is that, like, when people are listening to music, they don't really get those ads in the way that they get it when they do podcasts. Like, if you listen to the music, you probably don't get an ad at all, right? But like, when it comes to the podcast, it's like they are throwing ads at you, like boom, 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 boom. It's like, come on, bro. Like, even TV commercial breaks don't last as long as podcast commercial breaks. And as an OG podcaster, I've been doing this shit for a long time. And as an OG podcast listener, I fucking hate that shit. But not only that, y'all start the podcast off with a bunch of goddamn commercials, but then the podcast gets started, they're 2 minutes in, and then I gotta watch another motherfucking 2 minutes. I gotta listen to another motherfucking 2 minutes of ads, man. Like, come on, man. Like,
shut up. Shut the fuck up.
Like, that's how I feel about these podcast ads, bro. Like, I get it. Folks want to get their bread. Spotify wants to get their bread, despite the fact that I'm a paying fucking member to Spotify, right? So I'm paying money for you niggas to advertise to me. And it's like, woosah, man. Woosah. It's the enshittification of these services, bro. Like, yo, I'm paying money. Like, a lot of these services didn't have ads before. They're having ads now. And even despite the fact that I'm paying money, like, I'm still being inundated with ads. It's almost like how cable TV kind of came about, where, like, I remember one of the advantages of cable TV was like, yo, man, they don't play as many ads. And now you watch, cable TV has just as many ads as, your terrestrial TV used to have back in the day. And, it just a thing. Now, even the streaming services now, if you want to avoid the ads, now they want you to pay more money to not watch the ads. And it's like, yo, bro, I was already paying y'all. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And I get it. Man. People want to get their bread, especially when it comes to like content creation and stuff like that, especially people who are independent and they're trying to, this is their way of like, their livelihood. I get it. But come on, man, we gotta come to some sort of medium, bro. Cause like, this shit makes it, for someone like myself, who is a longtime podcaster, who's a longtime podcast listener. I know for me as a longtime podcast listener, I hate having to skip through a shit ton of ads before I can get to the shit that I'm really trying to listen to. And so, yeah, man, that was one of the things that I was thinking about. Another thing that I was kind of thinking about, man, and this is just something that I was just kind of like observing as I, just kind of like talking with dudes that I work with and talking with other guys that I know and stuff like that, man, is that I'm wondering what it is about dudes, right? And why is it that we don't celebrate ourselves? Not even like during the holidays, we don't celebrate. And oftentimes during our own birthdays, we don't celebrate ourselves for that time either.
Monkey's bare-assed uncle.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that I know, man, who just like, they don't even celebrate their birthdays, right? And so I had posed this question on Facebook earlier this weekend, man. And shout out to all the guys who contributed to that conversation, man. Opening up and like kind of telling the reasons why they hadn't been, as open to celebrating these holidays and their birthdays and things like that. Some people were dealing with, people that they loved had died around the times of those holidays, so it made it difficult for them to celebrate those times and those holidays. Some guys are just like, yo, man, like even when it comes to their birthdays, that they felt like nobody cared about them during their birthdays. And then there's a bunch of other guys who feel as though when it comes to celebrating themselves, that it is gonna cost them money. Even when it comes to other people celebrating them, those people are asking them to pay for the celebration of themselves. So they just don't necessarily feel as though they're appreciated or that they are loved enough for it to even really mean anything. And one of the things that like kind of made me made me even think about this was when I was earlier this month or last month, because it was in October, but I was filling out my vacation form for next year. And when I fill out my vacation form and I request the days that I want off for the next year, oftentimes I take my birthday off. Right. I've always taken my birthday off. And we were talking about this at the job, and some guys were like, yo, man, like, are you really taking your birthday off, bro? Like, what the fuck? And I'm like, yo, yeah, I'm absolutely taking my birthday off. This job is going to be here. Like, this is my attitude about it. This job is going to be here. I'm going to take the time out for myself to celebrate another year being here, man. Like, it means something to me that, like, yo, like, I'm here another year. Like I'm going to take some time out and reflect on that and celebrate that. And I don't like, for me, it's like, I don't see any issue with it. But there was a lot of guys that I work with who was like, man, shit, ain't nothing but another day, dog. Shit, I'm just here. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing but another day. And like, shit, ain't gonna do nothing but you ain't gonna be doing nothing but spending some money. You ain't gonna be doing nothing but spending money. Like, you might as well be coming here and making some money. I'm like, nah. I mean, I'm gonna be. To be quite frank, like, because I get paid, I'm still getting paid anyway. I'm like, what the fuck am I here for? I'm here getting dirty and walking in fucking situations where, like, y'all heard me talk about some of the places I have to go into to work. I'm like, I'm not trying to be there on my fucking birthday, man. Fuck that. I would much rather be surrounded by people I love and eating an awesome fucking steak, having a great drink and enjoying the time, right? But also, like, my birthday is June 18th. It's the day before Juneteenth. So I also take, June 19th off, right? And, they were essentially, the guys that work with, like, yo, man, you only taking that shit off because it's your birthday and Juneteenth, like, whatever, nigga. And I'm like, here's the other flip side to that, right? Here's another thing. So, like, at my job, we get the July 4th holiday off, right? It's a federal holiday. It's a state observed holiday. We get that day off at my job, right? And everybody knows we're not coming to work on July 4th. And I trust me, I ain't mad at it. Like, July 4th has been a holiday my entire fucking life, so I ain't mad at it at all. And I'm not trying to be there on July 4th either, nigga. I could think of better things to do than to be in somebody's nasty ass basement on July 4th, right? Now, the other thing about it was, like, I take Juneteenth off as well, because during the George Floyd uprisings, guess what? My job gave us Juneteenth off because they thought Detroit niggas was going to tear the whole goddamn world down.
That'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
They gave us that day off during that entire, in 2020, right? So when they gave us that day off and it became a holiday, I'm looking for the company to honor Juneteenth in much the same way that they honor July 4th. But the company has decided that they're not going to do that. So I have decided that I'm not going to be at the job on Juneteenth ever again. I'm taking that day off too. Like, what the fuck does my black ass being at work on a day where we're celebrating black people not having to work for the man? What the fuck does that look like? To me, I'm like, man, that it makes perfect sense for us to not, like, especially the brothers. It makes perfect sense to me that we not there on Juneteenth, right? But on, with the guys that I work, they're like, man, I ain't taking that shit on there. I could be here making money, you know what I'm saying? And the weird thing again is that, like, yo, bro, you still gonna get paid. Right? You still gonna get paid. Yeah, you taking a personal vacation day, but you still getting paid at the end of the day. But it was like, it's one of those things, man, where like, and we have these sort of conversations when I'm at work, man. And here's another thing, is another wrinkle to this. Ironically, I did not know until like probably like the last year or so that I work with a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, right? Wasn't aware of it until it, like, like people kind of like start having conversations about certain things and everything. And, of course, I'm aware of like some of the beliefs of Jehovah's Witnesses. I remember being a kid and the Jehovah's Witnesses, like the kids, when we would have certain programs at school, they couldn't participate when it came to like Halloween or Christmas or Easter or anything like that. Like, I remember the girls not being able to wear pants. They would have to wear like, dresses and things of that nature. And I remember as a kid feeling sorry for those kids. Like they couldn't like celebrate in the things that like kids found fun. Like oftentimes the Jehovah's Witnesses kids were like kind of like separated from the rest of the children. Right. And as an adult, like, I'm like, okay, so now as an adult, you have a choice in the matter. And this is the things that you have chosen to do. But oftentimes it's not even so much about them being Jehovah's Witnesses. A lot of the guys that I know simply have separated themselves from the idea of celebrating not only themselves for their birthdays, but also celebrating the holidays. And I kind of asked on Facebook, like, what is that about? Like, how do we get to a point where the men my age, like I'm 44, and men my age and older just start looking at the idea of holidays and, their birthdays is just another day. And I can remember being a kid, like for the holidays, and it meaning something. Like it was a wondrous thing, like being surrounded by family, seeing people that I hadn't seen in a long time, and us coming together and fellowship. That meant something to me as a kid. And as I've gotten older, to see that like so much of that has kind of gone away saddens me, man. It saddens me. But the other part that saddens me is to see how many brothers are just like resigned to the idea that like celebrating these things don't mean much anymore. And I know some of it has to do with loss, right? I know some of it has to deal with loss. Like even for me, right? Christmas is like one of my favorite holidays of the year. Even like at 44, it's still one of my favorite times of year, but it still doesn't have the same level of meaning to me because I lost my mother in 1997. And like my mother was like one of the driving forces in my life and in my family's life. And my mother was like the glue. Like when I tell y'all my mother was a glue for the family, my mother was a glue for the family. And so, like not having my mother the last 30 some, almost 30 years now kind of like taints a little bit. Cause like there's always a tinge of like, I wish mama was here. But like at a certain point, it's like, yo, it's not as we get older, it's about making the memories for the, the generations that come behind us. Cause I had a lot of fun times when I was a child, man. And so like when I would hear guys talking about, even the whole idea about Santa Claus and, ain't no white man getting credit for the shit that I done did. It's like, yo, man, this shit ain't about you. That shit ain't about you, right? It's about the kids. But also like being cynical about, hey man, even with that, They only want me around for me to be able to provide for shit. They only want me around for me to be able to pay bills and to buy gifts and stuff like that. And when it comes time to celebrate me, don't nobody want to do shit for me. And even if they are celebrating me, they're celebrating me with my money. They're not even buying shit for me. And I don't know that they got it because I paid for it. I can see the Amazon shit and know that they done bought me some shit with my own goddamn money. Like, so it's a weird, it's a conundrum. It's a conundrum. And like, I really, it's one of the things I kind of want to ask you guys as you're listening to me. I want to ask the fellas, man, like, when it comes to the holidays, when it comes to your birthdays, how are you feeling about that? Like, how do you celebrate it, or how do you not celebrate it, and why are you celebrating or not celebrating that? Like, it's something that I really want to kind of lean into to figure out why fellas are feeling the way that they're feeling about especially things that I feel like we should be celebrating, man, especially the older we get, as we become the elders in our families, right? As we become the OGs, as we become the unks I'm old enough now where, like, a lot of my friends are becoming grandparents, bro. I'm not a grandparent yet. Thank God, baby. I thank God my daughter ain't made me no granddaddy yet. However, like, when it comes to that, why are we so cynical? And why don't we want to embrace this part of the family unit? Why aren't we embracing that? And that's something that I've been thinking about a lot over the course of the last few weeks, man. It's been on my mind quite heavy, man. So if you guys can help me along with this, man, if you guys can contribute with some comments, or I'll probably make a poll on Spotify and everything else. But yo, man, I really do want to know why the fellas, man, are like kind of pulling back and not investing as much into themselves as far as celebrating themselves for their birthdays, but also why we're so like agnostic when it comes to celebrating the holidays and making memories for those of us, for those around us, man. Real talk. That's one of the things it's been on my mind and it's been on my heart heavy the last few weeks, man. Real talk. So I'll put that as a poll or a comment or whatever. Man, just comment on the show, man. Real talk. I really appreciate everybody who contributes to the discussion in that way, man. Real talk. But yo, man, beyond that, we've got quite a bit of political shit kind of talk about. Like I said, man, the title of this episode is time to put up or shut up time, man. People are about to go to the polls this Tuesday. If you haven't already voted via absentee ballot or early in-person voting and things of that nature. And one of the things that I thought was important, one of the things I thought was crazy though, as we come up into the last week or the last few days of this long ass presidential campaign, is that did Donald Trump really fucking do that? Like, so for whatever reason, Donald Trump at a campaign rally, I believe he was in Wisconsin when he did this, simulated fellatio during a fucking rally. And for whatever reason, I'm just like,
who are these niggas? We need to stay away from these niggas.
We need to stay away from the niggas who have voted for Donald Trump. Okay, so we get the story here. This comes out of the Daily Beast. It says that Donald Trump had a full meltdown during his rally in Milwaukee on Friday night, asking supporters if they wanted to see him knock the hell out of people backstage after he experienced microphone problems before he then simulated fellatio on a microphone stand. And to me, like, wait, first of all, could y'all imagine Kamala Harris doing anything of the sort?
Not never.
Now, I'm like nigga, like Donald Trump and his handlers and people around him are often denigrating Kamala Harris. There was a commentator at his rally at Madison Square Garden that said Kamala Harris had pimp handlers and all this other shit. Could y'all imagine the outrage that people would have if Kamala Harris had done something as fucked up as what Donald Trump did, right? Now, here's the other part. Could y'all really imagine Donald Trump knocking the hell out of anybody? I mean,
not never.
Nobody believes you, nigga. You ain't knocking the fuck out of nobody. Like, Donald Trump has to be the most fake tough fucking like dude ever in history, bro. Like, it's wild that so many supposed alpha, quote unquote alpha males find themselves following behind this frail ass, orange ass, sensitive ass, bitch made ass presidential candidate. Like, straight up. It's wild that so many of them feel like they have to fall in line behind this bitch made dude, right? But he actually simulated fellatio on the mic because apparently the mic, like the sound people were having some issues. He said, I get so angry. I get so angry. I'm up here seething. I'm seething. I'm working my ass off with the stupid mic. I'm blowing out my left arm. Now I'm going to blow out my right arm, and I'm blowing out my damn throat too because of these stupid people. And what was undoubtedly the strangest part of the situation, Trump then took the microphone off the stand and began simulating fellatio. So I'm going to pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann, because this actually fucking happened. And let's see what the hell Donald Trump actually had going on. Let me pull this up so you guys can see right along with your man Spann. I'm gonna pull this up and let's go ahead and play it.
But I don't ask for much. I don't ask for much. The only thing I ask for is a good mic. And this is the second time today that this happened. So now if I were the president, and you know, like a dopey guy like this Kelly, the guy's a total moron, and that happened.
So he isn't the president. Shout out to those who think that Donald Trump is still the president, but like for whatever reason, Barack Obama is running the shit, but Donald Trump is still the president, but he only is president when good shit happens. Because you got those folks, they're crazy.
And I'd fire him, and everybody would say, gee, I'm such a bad person. You're not bad. You fire people. When, for instance, the generals that destroyed us in Afghanistan, every one of them should have been fired. Should have been fired. Hello?
Now here's the other part that I'm not understanding. The mic that he was working with was absolutely fine. He could have put the motherfucker right back on the thing, but he didn't. He could have put it right back on the damn, like the little holder or whatever. He could have put that boy back on a holder. He didn't. He decided to hold that shit. Now someone else comes up with another mic, and like for whatever reason they handed him another mic, but like you see the look on his face right now, like, you know, crazy.
I don't think so. Hello? Is that better? Is that better? That's terrible. Is that better back there? Was that yes or no? What crap. The only thing I asked for is a mic. You don't have to give me, I don't even need a stage. I don't give a damn. Give me a good mic. And I went through 2 of these today. And it knocks the hell out of your throat. But so far I'm doing.
So let me. Here's the other part, right? For the people who go to these rallies, and he's doing this sort of thing, like, is this the draw? Right? Is this the draw? Like, he gets up there and he's bitching the entire time. Is this what you guys wait hours and hours and hours to hear? Is Donald Trump to get on a fucking stage and bitch the entire time? Is this the draw for you? Because like what I'm hearing right now is just.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. There's no wonder you get D's and everything.
And, you know, Donald Trump probably got D's in college, but he would sue his college if they actually let out his grade point average, which is ironic because he was out here asking for the transcripts for Barack Obama. Like, come on, man. Come on, man.
Doing okay, right? Okay. Is that better? Yeah. And did you notice I came in today, I said, and you know, this is after 4 of these things. I mean, in all fairness, I mean, I'm a human being, right? I come in, and here's the problem. I said, oh man, it's too low. I said, it's too low. So, I had to go.
Hold on, I'm gonna rewind that for you guys who are watching live right now, because he's actually simulating fellatio right now on the mic stand. Okay, he's got one. He's jerking off the mic stand, and he's got one mic in his hand. So, like, for as much as Donald Trump is like, and the people who would vote for Donald Trump, bitches about, rights for the LGBTQ community. The idea that Donald Trump would be out here simulating fellatio for not one, but two individuals. I wonder how those folks are feeling about that, right? But also, again, the question remains, how do you reconcile Donald Trump performing something like that in front of thousands? Some of these people probably had their kids there. How do you reconcile him doing that with also the idea that supposedly Kamala Harris is the hoe? Right? Kamala Harris is supposed to be the hoe. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is out here simulating fellatio. Make that shit make sense, man. Make that shit make sense. Also, just think about how far it makes me sick. Makes me sick, motherfucker, how far we done fell. To the point where a presidential candidate is in front of thousands simulating fellatio at a presidential rally. Bill Clinton never did this. Richard Nixon never did this. Hell, not even Woodrow Wilson did some shit like that. These like the people that y'all think are some of the more terrible presidents or the more unscrupulous presidents. None of them ever did no shit like this as a part of their campaign strategy, bruh. And here we are watching a dude who was asking for votes, who's asking people to vote for him, simulating fellatio at a fucking presidential rally. Make that shit make sense, man. And like all the evangelicals and stuff like that, when they say, well, we're not voting for a saint, we're voting for a president. Like, yeah, you done totally thrown all your values out the door. Like with all the shit that they talked about with Bill Clinton. This is what y'all got? This is like Jimmy Swaggart's son was out here calling out the black church for this shit? Are you fucking serious? So yeah, man. Donald Trump really did that. Donald Trump was out here simulating fellatio for a crowd in Milwaukee. And we got that going on, man. Real talk. It's kind of crazy. But now another crazy thing that we got going on is the fact that I don't know, man. I think, because this election season has been going on for so long, and we've gotten Donald Trump running for the better part of the last 2 years because he was basically trying to make all of the charges against him seem political. He jumped into the race early, and it's getting to a point now, though, where even the Nazis are jumping ship. The Nazis are out here like, yo, man, maybe we are a part of a cult. Yeah, so one of the things that happened over the course of the last weekend or so was Nick Fuentes, who showed up to Mar-a-Lago with one Kanye West, because Kanye West is now advocating for Nazism for whatever the fuck reason. And even Nick Fuentes is saying that the Trump people are a goddamn cult.
Oh man, hey.
All right, so we get the story here. This comes out of the Daily Beast. It says the neo-Nazi personality Nick Fuentes has ridiculed Donald Trump for dressing up as a garbage man, despite once being one of his most outspoken supporters and former dinner guest. In a rant on his channel, the white nationalist streamer said MAGA was indeed a cult, echoing observations others have already made about the blind obedience of Trump supporters. At the Trump rallies, they're yelling trash for Trump, trash for Trump. And I saw other people. I saw white guys. I saw Hispanic guys inside trash cans jumping out of them with Trump signs. White guys with garbage bags that say trash for Trump. That was the moment when I realized Trumpism is a cult. So there's video attached to this. And of course, man, Spann is going to play the video because that's what we do here. So let's see what the hell Nick Fuentes is talking about here on, he posted this is on Twitter. So let's see.
Garbage. And at the Trump rallies, they're yelling trash for Trump, trash for Trump. And I saw other people. I saw white guys. I saw Hispanic guys inside trash cans jumping out of them with Trump signs. White guys with garbage bags that say trash for Trump 2024. And that was kind of like, to me, that was the moment when I realized Trumpism was a cult. That was the moment when I realized liberals are right. That was the moment when I realized it has gone too far. It is Frankenstein's monster. We have created a golem. It is a problem.
Supposed to feel sorry for that bitch. I don't.
We don't feel sorry for you, bitch. Absolutely not. Don't feel sorry for you. Anybody who's on the other side of this does not feel sorry for these motherfuckers. Real talk.
You know, for years, liberals said, it's a cult. You're in a cult. And I said, you're going to jail. You're going to jail. It is a cult and we are in it and you are going to jail. That's how I felt about it for the past 8 years. But then I saw themselves dressing up as trash, like uncritically just dressing up as garbage and saying we're garbage. Yeah, we're.
But here's the rub about this though, right? So the idea like this, there's people on the Trump supporter folks that were like dressing up in trash bags, going to Trump rallies and things of that nature. And they were acting as though Joe Biden called them trash when actually Joe Biden was calling the rhetoric coming out of that Madison Square Garden rally trash. The folks in the MAGA movement, and here's the tripped out part about all of that is that the tripped out part about all of that, this is what like is crazy to me, is there's this the asymmetry of the rhetoric, right? So Trump supporters act as though they don't hear when Donald Trump is calling America the world's trash can, where the world is sending their worst to America and America is accepting everybody, and America just becomes a dumping ground for the world's worst. And America is like a third world country. And he's constantly shitting on the country, right? He does, like, for whatever fucking reason, they don't hear that. But they somehow heard Joe Biden call them trash when he was talking about the rhetoric about America coming out of a rally, coming out of Madison Square Garden, and they personalized it, right? In much the same way that they tried to personalize, Hillary Clinton calling them deplorables back in 2016. They really tried to make this a rallying cry for the right. Right. And much the same, like, and so you're seeing surrogates come out and they're like, yeah, Joe Biden is calling, Trump supporters trash and this and the other. And then like you would watch these same motherfuckers when they would listen to clips of Donald Trump calling America trash, and suddenly it doesn't mean anything anymore. Because Donald Trump just has this sycophantic sort of following where, yeah, what Donald Trump said, he didn't really mean, and we're going to explain to you what he really meant. Meanwhile, Donald Trump was like, nah, I meant that shit. We talked about this last week. They think we stupid because they are, like many of their followers, kind of stupid. Kamala Harris ain't going to say that. But many of us think, yeah, y'all some stupid motherfuckers. Like, straight up. It's blatant. It's obvious. So when you got someone like a Nick Fuentes, who is a staunch Donald Trump supporter, a fucking neo-Nazi no less, saying that like, yo, y'all look crazy out here. They called y'all a cult. And now I see it. Like, not to say that I give a fuck about what Nick Fuentes says, but if like Nick Fuentes is finally like, oh shit, like, again, we don't feel sorry for them because
supposed to feel sorry for that bitch. I don't
feel sorry for you, but let me see. It's like 7 seconds left. So let me play it out.
We're garbage. And I said, yeah, I think we have a problem. It's like that moment in Scientology when they tell you about Xenu.
So yeah, man, got that going on. Now, another story that we got going on, man, that I think is kind of indicative of the times that we're living in right now, has to deal with the fact that, like, yo, man, we got a lot of people in the polling places acting badly, bro. Especially a lot of Trump supporters out here acting badly at the polling places. So I saw a video of one Trump supporter who was, he was getting he was acting a little froggy. I think he was acting a little froggy because all of the poll workers that he saw working were women, right? I really do believe that's why he was so froggy on it. However, he's not the only one. And so we got a couple stories here. We're gonna pull up the story that comes out of South Carolina, and we're gonna read this story here. Well, actually, this is on YouTube. So I'm gonna pull this video up so you guys can watch right along with your boy. Hold on just a second. No, not that one. Let's share the screen. Boom and boom. Here we go. Check this out. Check this out, guys. Also, for you guys who are not watching, there's a white guy in some jeans, a white t-shirt. He has on a Trump hat. Okay. And, when you go to the polling place, oftentimes they will tell you it is illegal for you to be wearing any sort of paraphernalia that is supportive of one candidate over another. So they tell you to remove those sorts. You can't wear that sort of shit when you go to vote. And as much as a lot of us were like, yo, man, we just rooting for the guys and we voting for whatever else. Hey, that shit ain't allowed. And so the ladies at the polling place in South Carolina were informing this gentleman, this asshole, that he can't wear this hat while he's in the polling place. And now he's upset about it. And he called one of the polling ladies. I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, and they're all black women. Let's also keep that a buck. They're all black women who are the poll workers here at this place. He called one of them a black bitch.
Wow. Listen, don't cuss at me. This is my wow. Why is it defending me? It's like defending me. All right, then shut the hell up and let me vote.
Not even 24 hours.
Okay, so this is one of those videos where someone is like imposing their own commentary, and we don't want that. So let me see if I can. I think I have another. I think I do have another example of this video. So let me pull this up. I got this off of Threads. So yeah, let's pull this up on Threads. Let me do this here. And yeah, we'll do that. And let's see what it looks like on the Threads. Check this out, you guys.
Oh, wow. There's no reason. Yeah, all that too. Sir. Wow. Listen, don't cuss at me. This is my motherfucking right. Wow. Why is it defending me? It's like defending me. All right, then shut the hell up and let me vote. Okay, Jamie. Okay, we ain't got nothing else to say. We ain't got nothing else to say. Wow. Move on. Next thing. There it is right there. No. Wow. Oh. Wow, God. Oh.
Now what's, hold on.
Wow. Oh.
Now once the sister gave this dude the 2-piece, like he done did something to her, she gave him the 2-piece. Now he's going up against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sisters. It's 5 sisters up against this dude, essentially trying to keep him away from the one sister who defended herself from whatever the fuck it was he did to her while they were standing next to each other. So I'm gonna pull the audio back and the video back so you guys who are watching live can see also.
Wow. 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 You are wrong. Wow. Stop it. Wow. 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 You might want to help with him. You may want to help with him.
Okay, so one of the things that happened with this particular incident was that the woman who got into the physical altercation with this dude, she ended up being charged with assault. He was not charged with assault. We'll do some follow up as to like what ultimately happened here, but ultimately, I don't think this happens this way if there are more than women working as poll workers in this way. I don't think he feels as emboldened to act in this way if he felt as though there will be some level of check physically with other men being around, where he wouldn't be allowed to disrespect the women in the polling place in that way. And so when we talk about Trump supporters and everything else, we think about the policies that the Trump, this Trump campaign is trumpeting when it comes to reproductive rights, when it comes to Donald Trump coming out saying that he will protect women whether they like it or not. Like in many ways, Donald Trump's behavior has allowed for a lot of these other motherfuckers to feel as though I can do whatever the fuck I want to all of these people, no matter what, right? I would love to have seen, though, had there been another man in that situation, whether or not he would have behaved in the exact same way that he behaved here, because he disrespected every last one of the women who were working in this poll place, and these women didn't deserve that, and they were only enforcing the rules that is the fucking law. So if you can't tell me about Republicans being about law and order if they can't respect the law that tells them, hey man, take that bitch ass Trump hat off when you come in here to vote. Take that bullshit off. I can't walk into a polling place with a Kamala Harris shirt or a Harris Waltz hat or anything like that. Not that I would, because oftentimes now I'm not even walking into a polling place. I vote early now because I had that right to vote early here in Michigan, right? And shout out to those of us who voted in 2016 to not only ungerrymander the state of Michigan, but because we voted in 2016 to ungerrymander the state of Michigan, we now have a trifecta in the state house, in the state senate, and the governorship, and now we have early voting here in Michigan. We didn't have that before. We didn't have access to that before, and so now because we have access, we can vote early in person. We can vote by mail, and we don't even have to wait until November 5th in order to have our ballots counted. Right? Republicans do not want your votes to count at all. They are trying to constrict your ability to vote. So, yeah, man, like Trump voters out here behaving badly in polling places, but he isn't the only one. He is not the only one. We got another story here, and I'm going to pull this story up. This comes out of, where was this at? I want to say, was it Arizona?
He cast his ballot and is accused.
Okay, so I'm going to pull this story up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. Hold on just a second while I pull this up. Let's see what they are talking about here on the YouTubes. Here we go.
Of repeatedly punching a Bexar County elections clerk. The sheriff's office says that it's because that man was asked to take off his MAGA hat.
Yeah, that clerk doing what they're supposed to do. A 63-year-old.
Again, they're asked to take off the fucking hat because they're not supposed to be wearing a hat in the first fucking place. These niggas, man.
Old man Jesse Lutzenberger faces a felony assault charge. As our Daniela Ibarra explains, that charge could change, though.
Voting is a constitutional right. Sylvia Hernandez says it gives people power.
Their vote is their voice.
She spent the week campaigning outside the Johnston Library on the Southwest Side. On Thursday night, she saw an ambulance pull up, but didn't know why.
This is a press conference that I was hoping we would not have to have.
Bexar County Elections Administrator Jackie Callanan says paramedics checked on an election clerk in his 60s. An incident report says 63-year-old Jesse Lutzenberger punched him. The report says Lutzenberger wore a red MAGA hat inside. Sheriff Javier Salazar says poll workers asked him to take it off twice.
Wearing clothing supporting a political candidate, which that's electioneering. And it's certainly something that you're not supposed to do.
Lutzenberger is charged with assault, a felony. Is there a different charge for assaulting an election worker?
Well, that's what we're looking at now.
Callanan says the election clerk is back at the polls. Security is also beefed up there.
That's very scary, because it makes you stop and think, wow, am I going to be safe?
Hernandez says political disagreements shouldn't get physical.
Let the best man win. There's no reason for violence. None.
Daniela Ibarra, KSAT 12 News.
All right, so that happened in Texas. All right, so we know now that was not in Arizona, that was in Texas. But the fact remains, man, like these dudes are going, like these Trump supporters are going to these polling places looking for confrontations. They're doing things against the law that they're not supposed to be doing. And then they act as though they're being victimized because the people who are working there are enforcing the law and telling them, hey, bro, you can't wear that paraphernalia here. And now they're assaulting the people who are enforcing the fact that they're not supposed to be wearing that bullshit at the goddamn polling places. Right? It's crazy. It is fucking crazy out here now. So, I also want people to understand that although you might not necessarily be a Trump supporter or whatever else, those people are out here and they're voting. They are voting. You need to get off your ass. If you hate that sort of shit, you need to be getting up off your ass, going to the polling place as well. Right? Now, I'm not sure what, how early voting is happening. Like, I'm sure in a lot of different places, early voting is probably done for right now, right? And so Tuesday is like, yo, it's the final thing, man. Go Tuesday and go make your voice be heard at the polling place. However, understand that those people who are acting in that way, oftentimes, especially if you're a person of color, especially if you're a woman, especially if you are someone of the LGBTQ community, those folks are voting. And they are voting to keep you subjugated in this country. Make no mistake about it. Those folks are voting to keep you subjugated in this country. Real talk. Now, we got another story here that I kind of wanted to talk about here. And after we talk about the LGBTQ community, one of the things I was thinking about, and it's weird, right? And it's because shout out to my boy Cliff and my sis Tiasha, because first things first, they were here visiting. My brother and my sis were here visiting this past weekend, man. Shout out to my real love, man. Also, condolences to my boy Cliff because he just lost his cousin Kathy this weekend. So it's always love and whatever my brother needs, he got it when it comes to me, right? However, when he was here, we were having a discussion over breakfast, man. We were talking about LGBTQ people and their participation in sports, right? And one of the things that kind of came up while we were talking over breakfast, and this is one of the things that I love about my brother and my sister, is that we were able to have this conversation, and I know I can have this conversation with them because I know they're operating in good faith, when oftentimes that people are not necessarily operating in good faith, and I know that they are not opposed to the LGBTQ community at all, but also sometimes there could be some misunderstandings. Sometimes there could be sometimes the political rhetoric around it can cause confusion and everything else. But one of the things that kind of came up while we were at our one of our breakfast conversations was the idea of trans girls playing trans girls playing in girl sports, right? And my contention has always been, if you've been listening to me for any length of time, you guys know that I don't think that it's much of an issue. I think that the right wing has been trying to demonize the idea of trans girls playing in girl sports in many ways, to just try to marginalize trans folks because they don't have that much of an advocacy in many ways, right? Because you got some, straight folks who don't have an issue with with the LGBTQ community at all, but there's some who like, I don't know how fair it is to my kid, right? I don't know how fair, how I would feel if my kid, was competing against a trans athlete and they lost, and whether or not I would feel okay with that, right? And one of the things, like me and my brother and my sister, we were talking about this. We kind of we had a long conversation over breakfast, man. Real talk. And we were talking about this, and we were going over a lot of the nuances around it. And one of my biggest contentions has always been is that like the right wing is leaning on this particular issue and trying to make it an issue, despite the fact that very few trans athletes are even competing in girl sports, right? And so I came across an article over the course of the week, and this comes out of the Detroit Free Press, and they were asking how many trans girls athletes does it take to spark campaign ads, right? Just here in Michigan, because not even just here in Michigan, I'm sure if you've watched a football game anywhere in America, well, I'm sorry, not necessarily anywhere in America. If you watch a football game, especially an NFL game, in any of the swing states, whether that be Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada. If you watched a football game in these states, you've probably seen an ad for Donald Trump admonishing the Democrats for allegedly allowing men or boys to compete in girl sports. So when I came across this article in the Free Press, I was like, this goes into a lot of the shit that I've been saying for a long time. So let me pull this article up, and I'm going to read a bit from this article. It says that given how often the supposed threat of transgender athletes have been surfacing on your television screen, you might be wondering how massive the onslaught actually is. I get paid to be curious for all of us, so I called the Michigan High School Athletic Association to ask, how many trans girls are swarming our state sidelines? Okay? How many? And we're just going to talk about the state of Michigan for the purposes of this article. The answer for how many trans girls are participating in high school sports in the state of Michigan is a grand total of 2.
Mega!
2 athletes out of the entire fucking state. 2. It says, contrast that with the number of commercials you've seen thundering on about Kamala Harris or some other heathen Democrat who wants to force your teen daughters to share locker rooms with muscle-bound intruders who look like they could toss Hulk Hogan across an arena. In our battleground state, much of the war has been fought lately with ad buys. Divide the millions of dollars worth of ad airtime by the number of actual trans athletes, it would be, well, a lot. Probably enough to make sure some beleaguered districts had a full staff of counselors and maybe better food. Instead, we get a candidate claiming that kids are undergoing gender reassignment surgery at school, never mind the lack of surgeons or operating rooms, and the fact that most schools can't hand out an ad bill without parental permission. Meantime, exactly 2 trans girls in Michigan are in uniform, competing in sports that the MHSAA Communications Director Jeff Kimmerly opted not to specify. It still felt that would be too much of an identifier. He said, in a world where 0.0011765% of the 170,000 current Michigan high school athletes could find themselves being used as political footballs. With only the mildest exaggeration, Kimberly said that he caught the most prominent of the commercials 20 times as he flipped through football games Saturday. A less visible ad from U.S. Senate candidate Mike Rogers has been in rotation, but the unescapable message comes from courtesy of Donald Trump for president 2024, part of a national push that had churned through a reported $21 million in the first 2 weeks of October by itself. Kamala's agenda is they, them, not you, it said. Giving credit where it's due, that's clever. Good phrasing matters. Nobody much cared about the inheritance tax until someone started calling it the death tax a few decades ago, and then it became a campaign issue for a bunch of voters whose net worth was measured in pizza coupons. Like, straight up. That's the other part that always, like, is tripped out to me. Is that, like, even when it comes to, like, the tax thing, right? I was having an issue. I was having a back and forth with someone on Twitter, not Twitter, Threads this week. It was a fellow podcaster who came out and said that he was going to be voting for Trump, and that he knew that he would be losing people, and that he was okay with that. But as we were going over our back and forth, one of the things he said to me was that, like, yo, my taxes were lower when Donald Trump was president, and they've been raised since Joe Biden became president. One of the things that, you know, because I follow politics, is that, like, yo, nigga, you do know that, like, the Trump tax cuts have not been repealed. As a matter of fact, Joe Biden didn't do anything at all with the Trump tax cuts. Those are just set to expire. You are still living under the Trump tax cuts as we speak. And so, because you are living under the Trump tax cuts as we speak, the fact that you think that your taxes went up under Donald Trump is complete and utter bullshit. Complete and utter bullshit. But when it comes to, how people romanticize the past, and folks romanticize the past a lot, right? We were romanticizing, how great it was when we was kids, this, that, and the other, despite the fact that there might have been some bullshit going on when we was kids, and this, that, and the other, right? But when I'm going back and forth with this dude, I'm like, dude, you talking about you were living better? I'm like, yo, did you totally forget? Like, it's as if people who live people who support Donald Trump totally don't count the year 2020 as part of the Trump administration. They count 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. They do not count 2020 when shit hit the fucking fan and he totally mismanaged that shit all the way through, right? They don't count that. They think that, hey, gas was cheaper when Donald Trump was president. Yeah, gas was cheaper because nobody was fucking driving, bro. We was in the house. We was trying not to get sick. We was trying not to die. Right? They act as though that shit didn't happen under Donald Trump. They act as though the economy was shit before Donald Trump came into prominence became president.
Shut up. Shut the fuck up.
Because that's bullshit. Donald Trump inherited a pretty goddamn good economy when Barack Obama left. That Barack Obama left him. Many of them think that Donald Trump, the money was flowing when Donald Trump was president. The reason why money was flowing when Donald Trump was president, especially during COVID, is because there was a Democratic Congress that gave those checks to people who were suffering. But they don't think about that shit.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
They don't think about that shit, man. So I say all that to say that these ads are going across America talking about trans kids, taking opportunities away from these heterosexual cishet girls, and how they are using this marginalized group and villainizing them in a way to make people who don't know a trans person think that opportunities for my daughter are being taken away because she's got to go out here and deal with some boy who wants to be a girl. And if you've listened to me for any length of time, man, you guys know that I think that's entirely bullshit. And the reason why it's bullshit is because, for one, the trans community is already minuscule, but also of the trans people who are seeking to play team sports and participate in athletics, that number becomes even more minuscule. And the idea that your daughter is a victim of a trans person taking an opportunity away from them is like almost microscopic. But the idea has been implanted in so many people's brains that trans people are somehow taking over. That you can just go into a school, that the kids are just going into the school telling the teacher, hey, I don't want to be a boy anymore. I want to be a girl. And then the teacher's like, okay, it's cool. And then the doctor is like, okay, it's cool. And then that's just what it is. And the parents are like nobody, the parents have no idea that this is going on. It's absolute fucking bullshit. It's bullshit. But this is how they continue to drive wedges between communities, between people who are like in league with folks who are just wanting to exist, wanted to live fully. This is how they do it. This is how they do it, man. So we've seen so many of these ads. And one of the ads that have been running prominently here in Michigan, let me see if I can pull this up. Because this dude is running for Senate here in the state of Michigan. And I think this is it right here. This dude here is Mike Rogers. Now, Mike Rogers used to live in Michigan. He doesn't, then he moved to Florida. He became a consultant for some Chinese companies and everything else. But this is one of the ads that this dude is running here in the state of Michigan. And I'm going to pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. Hold on just a second while I pull this up. Let's do this here. Boom. 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 And this is just one ad that is running in my state. I'm not sure how many of these particular type of ads are running in the state that you live in, but this is one of the ads that runs during the Lions games when I'm watching my Lions whoop everybody's ass this season. But check this out, man, because this is what they're doing. And I'm going to max
it at grade level. And what's Alyssa Slotkin doing? She wrote the bill to force school.
Hold on a second. Is there a way for me to rewind this?
To let men compete against our girls in their sports. Slotkin even voted to let men use girls' locker rooms. That's nuts. Slotkin is pushing a far-left agenda instead of fixing real problems.
Our schools are failing because Congresswoman Slotkin's failing. I'm Mike Rogers, and I approve this message. I'm a dad. I'll fight to protect our girls' sports for my daughter and every daughter.
Only half our kids can read at grade level. And what's Alyssa Slotkin doing? She wrote the bill to force schools to let men compete against our girls in their sports.
Now, here's the other part that I think oftentimes goes unsaid, is that when they talk about these sorts of things, they don't talk about how often girls are competing in boys' sports. They don't talk about that at all. They don't talk about how girls, like when they want to play football, because there isn't a girls' football team, oftentimes the girls who do want to play football end up playing on the boys' football team. They don't talk about how boys, when they do want to play gym, or if they do want to get involved in gymnastics, oftentimes if there's not a boys' gymnastics program at that school, guess where they at? Guess where they at? It is nothing but hate mongering, bruh. It is nothing more than that. It is nothing more than that. And hopefully, when it comes to us going to the ballot, when we go to the polls, man, hopefully when we go to the polls, man, we start to put up or shut up time, man. That's exactly what this is. It is put up or shut up time, man. Like these hateful messages that are being spread by people who don't want you to vote, who don't want trans people to exist, who are minimizing Black Lives Matter, and when black people protest for the existence of their own lives, they're trying to minimize that. Hopefully, those of us who advocate on those issues is more than this talk. Hey, now it's time to put up or shut up. Take your ass to the polls, man. Take your ass to the polls. That's what it is, man. Real talk. Real talk. Before we get out of here, though, I meant to do this earlier in the show. I really did. And apologies, for those of you who were looking for the listener feedback, who were looking for the listener feedback, and you guys are gonna get towards the end of the show. But I did have some listener feedback, so I do want to acknowledge you guys and respond to you guys before we get on up out of here. And one of the things that we had a couple comments here, and let's see, my man J41914 says, "Damn, 15 minutes to shave your head. I'm 5 minutes tops, but I use a razor and shave in the shower." Now, I have never shaved in the shower because I can't see what the fuck I'm doing in the shower. However, it used to take me a hell of a lot longer than that. You can ask my wife, man. My wife would be so pissed off when I would go into the bathroom to go shave, because first I would take the Andy's T outliners, and I would shave it down, and then I had the bevel razor, and I would take the bevel razor and I would shave it down with that, and then I would do my thing with that. But even with shaving with a razor, with that particular routine, I was still finding myself catching bumps in the kitchen, man. I was catching bumps in the kitchen. And so one of the things that I do now, man, like I said, part of my routine now is, I take the hot towels and I apply those to my head, man. I use a moisturizing conditioner as opposed to shaving cream, and I apply that to my head. And then I use my Freebird shaver, and I go to town on my head, man, and I get it down. And so now I've got it to a routine to where it doesn't take me as long, 15 minutes to shave my head. I don't get nearly as many razor bumps. If I get razor bumps at all in the back, bro, I don't get those anymore. So yeah, man, it doesn't take me as long, but 15 minutes ain't a lot of time, man. It's surely less time than I would have spent if I'd have took my ass to a barbershop, bro. And then not only that, being subject to some of the bullshit conversation going on some of these barbershops, right? But I appreciate you, J4, for your comment, man, and I appreciate you listening in. Hope to hear from you again soon, brother. Real talk. Also, J4 wrote in to say, man, I'm so glad you're back. The whole time I've been wondering, I wonder what Mr. Spann has to say on this, about all this nonsense going on. Listen, brother, I appreciate your continued listenership. And yo, man, like I said, sometimes when it comes to my job, bro, it just makes it hard for me to get to the mic when I want to get to the mic. And oftentimes it also, if I'm not able to pay attention to what's going on, sometimes I got to be focused on what I got going on at the gig. But it that sort of kind of gets in the way. But I appreciate you, brother, for your continued support and your continued listenership. And hopefully, you got some answers to some of the questions you had, brother. Real talk. But thank you so much, J4. Real talk. We got another comment here. This comes out of Spotify. And we get this here from episode 54. It says, this is from Tiku Fan. It says, Spann, what up, though? Man, I love this show. Your commentary and take on the issues that I'm concerned about is on point. Question. I listen to the other podcasts that run commercials to help monetize their shows. Have you thought about going down that avenue? You shouldn't have to come out of your pocket alone. First things first, man, thank you for your comment, right? And I think I kind of addressed some of what you were talking about earlier on. But one of the things about, I'll say this. One of the things about when it comes to running commercials to monetize my show, I'm going to be very open and transparent with you guys. it's not a lot of people listening. It's not a lot of people listening to me in that way. At most, I'm probably getting about 300 downloads a show, right? About 300 people are listening to you Spann on a regular basis. And it's just not, it's like when it comes to like monetizing it in that way, it's just not like, it's just not really happening for your man Spann in that way. The other part about that is that there is a way for the people who do listen to me to help me when it comes to monetizing the show. And one way to do that is to go to our store, man, and cop that merch that we do have on TeePublic, man. You can buy yourself that t-shirt, buy yourself that coffee mug, buy that mouse pad or whatever, and support the show in that way. If you want to help the show monetarily, that's the way to do it. And so, as much as I would like to monetize the show and have commercials running and stuff like that, the flip side to that is I don't want like the commercials to degrade the experience that you do have here, right? So like I do publish my show via podcast, Spotify for podcasters and things like that. However, as I listen to podcasts on Spotify, I'm not a fan of listening to shows on Spotify because of how much they have they've really made it terrible for listening to podcasts on Spotify, right? And so there's a balance that we definitely do need to reach when it comes to how folks are listening to the show, how I'm able to make money off of the show. And I appreciate that you're looking out for my pockets, brother. Real talk, man. Because I do pay for all of this out of my pocket. But I also do this because I love doing it. And so, for those of you who would like to contribute to what we got going on here at the Mrs. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network, if you want to help monetarily, please do buy that merch over there at the TeePublic store. And when we do get our new website up, you can donate on our new website as well. But for the moment right now, if you want to contribute, go ahead and buy yourself some merch. And we will appreciate every dime over here, man, real talk. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for your continued listenership, man, real talk. But, man, it is about time for me to get on up out of here. It is 11:30, man. I got on late, man, so I appreciate everybody who's been watching here live. But of course, before we get on up out of here, I do have to remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Mrs. Spann Official Podcast and let your voice be heard. You can go ahead and hit up that hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages. Those messages will get played here and responded to here live on the show. You can also hit us up at our email at feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Go ahead and leave us those emails. Of course, those emails will get read here and replied to here live as well. Follow me on Threads and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So go ahead and follow me there. Chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. Also, go to our YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel, like the videos on the channel, comment on the videos on the channel, and we will, reply to those comments right here live on the show, man. Real talk. Also, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and or Spotify. Those comments and those 5-star reviews will get read here live on the show. We really appreciate everybody who does that. Doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Mrs. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety. And if you want to help us monetarily, go ahead and hit up that store, man. Spann Report Podcast Network store at teepublic.com. Go ahead, copy yourself some merch. Get that t-shirt, get that hoodie, get that mouse pad, get that cup. We really appreciate everybody who does that. And, it helps us continue what we're doing here at the Mrs. Spann Official Podcast and the entire Mrs. Spann Official, the entire Spann, the Spann Report Podcast Network, man, real talk. I appreciate everybody who was here in the chat or everybody who was watching live. And everybody who will be listening to this later. But of course, until next time, fam, I will talk to you guys again soon. Peace.